Hi there. This is to finish off chapter 2 in your textbook or in your book. So I'm going to go ahead and complete that. Let me go to paper and okay. So we were on section 2.4, and in 2.4 there was one topic that we still needed to do. So let me finish that up to make sure we're all set on that. So they had a topic at the end about what's the area of triangles. And so let's say that this measurement here is 10 meters. And this one right here is 5 meters. Okay. So the formula is, if you remember, we talked about it, it's half of a rectangle. And so it's 1/2 multiplied by the base and multiplied by the height. Now the base, in this case, is the 10 meters. It's this, and typically it's on the bottom, but not always. So that's the base. The height is a measurement of the perpendicular line to that base. And so in our case, it was 5 meters. So the height was 5 meters. Okay. So if they gave you this measurement and this measurement, it doesn't really matter. So you can ignore it. The only ones that matter are the base and the height, which is vertical to it or perpendicular to it. So in our case, we would have 1/2. The base is 10 meters and the height is 5 meters. And because we were working with fractions and multiplying, notice how I wrote these numbers high on the fraction line. This might help a little bit. And so what we have is 1/2 times 10 times 5. And so you can reduce this here in the problem. So 2 and 10 are fair game. So 2 into 2 once, and 2 into 10 5 times. So what we're left with for numbers is 1 times 5 times 5, 25 over 1 times 1 times 1 over 1. And so we're just going to say 25 because that's easier. And then we have meter multiplied by meter. And what we'll write for our final answer is 25 meters squared, or you could say it's square meters. So that's what I did. I had these 3 things to multiply. I canceled out the first 2, and then I multiplied across the top numbers and the bottom numbers, and I got that. If it's area, it's always square something. So it's square meters, square inches, square feet, whatever you've got. And so that's that problem. I wanted to do another one just to be sure. Sometimes they use a dotted line here. This one is perpendicular. So let's say this measurement is 24, let's do feet. And let's say this measurement is 10 feet. Those are the only 2 measurements that we really need. I would suggest that each time you would write the formula first and then insert the numbers as you go. So it's the area that we want. The base is the bottom, in this case, 24 feet, and that's going to be over 1. The height is the vertical distance or perpendicular line. In that case, it's 10 feet over 1. So again, this worked out pretty well. 1/2 divides into 24. So 2 goes into 2 once, 2 into this goes 12. So what I have left for the numerator, the top numbers, 1 times 12 times 10. Well, I made this easy to do. 12 times 10 is 120. and this is over 1, so that's 120. And then feet times feet is square feet. So that's your formula for the area of a triangle. And you might, like other things, put your formulas on a single page so that you can find them. You don't want to have to sort through a whole bunch of pages. Put your formulas, draw the picture, maybe even give one little example so you can see what's what. And so in this particular case, the answer was 120. And then they'll probably ask for this unit, and don't say feet, it's square feet. And then we should be good to go. Okay. Now, the last section is 2.5, and it's about division of fractions. And fortunately, this is not a bad thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with something fairly simple. So it would look like this, a fraction divided by a fraction. So this would be one way you would see it. And we learned how to do multiplication. And so when you have division, you convert it to multiplication. And the way you do it is as follows. The first number is copied, no change. The division converts to multiply. And this second number, it's always the second number, is inverted. So instead of 1/4, it is actually going to be 4/1. Okay? The first number stays the same. The division goes to multiply, which is what we already know how to do. And the second number is inverted. And so then you can completely ignore the fact that this was ever division and just look at the multiplication. How did we do it? Well, I'm looking at that 2 and that 4, aren't you? And so I would divide by 2. 2 divides into 2 once. 2 divides into 4 twice. So when there's nothing more to do, which there isn't, we then multiply across. 1 times 2 goes here in the numerator, and 1 times 1 is 1. But you know, we'll change that to just plain ordinary 2, not 2 divided by 1. And so this becomes the format. If it's division, change it to multiplication, invert the second number. It's really the reciprocal. Now, what happens if things are not just right? And so we learned how to do these with multiplication. If you don't have simple fractions, then the first thing you do before you even address anything is to make them simple fractions. And so this first 2 needs to be 2/1. And I'm going to do this in 2 steps, although you might find that you can do it in 1. So I made this a fraction. This is already a fraction. Now this is ready. This is a fraction divided by a fraction. So that first number, 2 divided by 1, stays exactly the way it is. Division becomes multiply, and this switches. So this would be 3/1. It's very important to keep your fraction lines horizontal and also kind of neat so that you can clearly tell what's on top and what's on the bottom so you don't get tangled. So at this point in time, all you do is multiply across. So 2 times 3 is 6. 1 times 1 is 1, but we know we're going to call that 6. Okay? So that's our only step. Now, other things that might come up would be this. 5 9/10 divided by 2. Okay? This is not in good shape, and neither is this. But we know what to do because we've already learned it. And so this is where you make the mixed number into an improper fraction. And so 10 times 5 is 50. 50 and 9 is 59 over 10. And then you change it to divide. I didn't change, I'm going to keep it divide for the moment. And this is 2 over 1. So what I did was I made this improper fraction. This I made a nice simple fraction. And only when I've got them nice and neat, then I do this step to make it multiply. So this is 59 divided by 10. This is times. And then this is where we invert it. You can see you can get snarled up. So I think it's best to make it, in other words, correct this, get it in good shape, then go ahead and make it multiply. So the first number stays, the second number inverts. Now, unfortunately, the 2 and the 59 do not cancel, and so there's nothing really to do but multiply across. 59 times 1 is 59. 10 times 2 is 20. And if they wanted a mixed number, and most of the time they do, you would, do a little division somewhere, or you can do it in your head if you can. This would be 2. 2 times 20 is 40. There's 19 left over. So the answer is 2 and 19 over 20. Okay. So this is nearly all we have to deal with. So let me see. I did notice this one here. Okay. Now, I'm just pulling some problems from the book, but this has a multiply problem and a divide problem. And if you remember from order of operation, these two are equal in weight and in importance. And so if that's the case, then you go left to right, which means you would do that first. And just ignore this for the moment and deal with it later. So we're going to do this one, which would be 4 over 1 times 7 over 6. Okay, just ignore this. So the 4 and the 6 can reduce, and so let's reduce it right now. So 2 goes into 4 twice, and 2 into this is 3 times. So what we have here is 2 times 7 is 14, and 1 times 3 is 3. It makes no sense to make this a mixed number because we'd have to put it back in this form. So just leave it for the moment until we're done. Then I'm going to do my divide. So don't forget to do it. Divide by 7, which is dividing by 7 over 1. Okay, so I did this. I left it in fractional form because that's what I prefer. And then I divided by 7, which is, in our case, 7 over 1. These are both in good shape, so I'm going to go 14 divided by 3 times, this is where I do this, 1 over 7. Now, regardless of what we've done so far, it really doesn't matter. This is what's left. And so the 7 and the 14 can be reduced, and you should do it now. So 7 into 7 is once, and 7 into 14 is twice. So this is 2 times 1 is 2, 3 times 1 is 3. So that whole mess boiled down to 2/3. Now, if for some reason you're having trouble with this canceling, when we were here, the 14 you could have said is really 2 by 7. This is a 3, this is a 1, this is a 7. And so if your canceling is creating problems for you, then writing it as factors will make it even easier. So I could then cancel out a 7 for a 7. There's nothing else that matches. So then 2 times 1 is 2, 3 times 1 is 3. So this boils down to 2/3. How is that? Okay. All right. So as far as I can tell, I'm going to try maybe one more. 8 2/3 divided by 4 1/3. No, I think this is going to come out real pretty simple. Both of these are in poor form to begin. We can't invert it yet. So I'm going to go ahead and fix both of this. This is 3 times 8, 24, and 2, 26/3. And again, I'm going to hold off until I get this in good shape. This is 12 plus 1 is 13/3. Once I have it in good shape, I'm then going to change it to multiply. So we're talking 26/3 times 3/13. So whatever happened before, this is where we're at. The 3's cancel, easy. And the 13 and the 26, you might be able to see that one is double the other. So 13 divides into 13 once. Into 26, it goes exactly 2 times. So what we have left, 2 times 1 is 2/1. In the end will be 2, okay? So as you probably saw on the website, you need to be watching this video so that you can complete the homework in chapter 2. On Monday, we'll do some review, and we'll also do a couple sections in chapter 3. On Wednesday, we'll have the first test, which will only be chapter 1 and 2. And so that's where we're at. So if you have questions, just send me a message in XYZ and we should be good. So I'm going to stop this for now. Good luck with this, and I'll see you on Monday.